John McCaig with JesusChristTrust.net here at the church. We're going to decode Aether today. Aether. All right. So there's the physical world that you can see, and there's the non-physical world that you can't see. Okay? And the non-physical realm is the ether. All right? Have you ever noticed anything about the word ether? It has the word earth in it. It just has an extra E. That's all it is. E3, W3, right? 3 is the pitchfork, So, anyway, so ether is the realm we cannot see. Okay, that's where we can't see. And I think it might help if I decoded what Mayor Baba said about this, okay? And you can look at this yourself. Avatar, Mayor Baba, Hyderabad, etc. And this is yogi powers and spiritual powers, right? Yogic powers versus spiritual powers. In other words, things you could practice and then gain control of, or spiritual powers are, you've done good and God grants you powers, So, let's go through and read this. In Raipur on July 11th, Baba gave an explanation of the powers of yogis, cities. The powers are called powers of yogis or cities, all right, compared to spiritual powers. All right. Through different yogas, one can attain strange powers, such as walking on water, talking with persons who are at a distance, becoming immune to snake venom through chanting mantras, etc. These powers attained through yoga control different vibrations which have different effects. Each yogi controls one particular vibration through which he is able to perform certain feats impossible for an ordinary human. Okay, so that's how yogis do it. They practice so that they get these abilities. Okay. But the peculiarity of this yogic power is that it can control only one particular vibration. So that a yogi who, through his control of a certain vibration, can walk on water, can do nothing else. Likewise, one who can nullify the effects of poisonous snake bite can do nothing other than that. All these different powers attained through yoga practices are phenomenal, and hence transient and unreal. These have nothing to do with spirituality or spiritual powers, which are already latent in all but manifest only in a few select ones who've realized the self. The spiritual powers are latent. Okay, that's what that's saying. All life depends on certain subtle vibrations. Subtle being the subtle realm, being the invisible realm. Okay, subtle vibrations, prawn. Their connection is more universal through the ether. Okay, let's read the footnote. Gas in its finest state, and the mental world in Tej. Gas in a very fine state of the subtle world is prawn. Okay. Mir Baba makes a distinction that there are three worlds, and this is the path, the spiritual path that you find yourselves on right now. You have to go through the gross world, as he calls it, the physical world. You have to go through the non-physical, right? And that's where all the powers are and stuff. And then you have to go through the mental realm, which is non-physical as well, but it's the area of thoughts and feelings, not powers. Okay. Sorry. Subtle world is prawn. The vibration of ether, gross gas in a fine state, can be accessed in the gross world through deep concentration. A yogi who attains the power of ether does not need to eat gross food, since the ether helps him maintain his body. A yogi can thus live on ether alone. Similarly, poets, writers, and artists attain vibrations of subtle inspiration temporarily, inspiring them to write poems, epics, and create art. But they do not attain permanent experience, which can only be experienced in the subtle planes through the transformation into subtle consciousness. Yogis attain a different vibration from the subtle world in a more concentrated form, as a power, a form of energy. But that too is temporary, although it can last for years. And you can learn different powers, basically. You can just do them one at a time. Okay, let's go back up from the footnote and keep reading. All right, we're up here. We're back up here. For instance, a yogi wants to obtain a certain connection to something which he desires. Just as there are infinite varieties of things in the gross world, so there are an infinite variety of things in the subtle realm. A yogi gets hold of one of these things and gains control over the vibration pertaining to that particular thing. The spiritualists, true spiritual aspirants, saints and masters, on the other hand, do not, N-O-T, right, indulge in these petty playthings. Because once realization of God is attained, all powers come to him and emanate from him. It is all bliss which he himself experiences, and that bliss permeates everything and flows from none other than himself. So what he's saying here is all of these powers are latent here. A yogi, through practice and knowledge and exercise and working on it correctly over time, can access these powers one at a time. Okay, but what happens when you're on the path and you reach a certain stage? The powers are granted, right? They're not used. Certain ones are used under the power of God. Like, obviously, I've used some of my powers for others. Here's a trust that can get you out of taxes and get you out of death, etc. Right? Free homes and on and on. But I only indulge in performing, not doing, because God does miracles, right? Performing miracles that are latent here, that are helpful to the servants of Jesus Christ. Who cares about walking on water? I mean, honestly, really. Uh, and that's what Mayor Baba said about it too. I'm just saying, really, who cares, right? Like, there are more important things that the poor and needy need help with than walking on water. You see what I'm saying? They need help with the practical things, and they also need help with the truth that exposes God. That's why I focus on those things, because only the poor and needy are coming to God. Anyone wealthy they're not coming to God, period. Right? Unless they've done, what is it? It's easier to fit a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven, right? It's not possible. I'm not going to be teaching. Well, obviously, I teach the other team too. Obviously, they pay attention to everything I do. But and so that they can then deliver that information after I've delivered it. Then it's free reign, right? But I'm just saying, I'm not turning them. No way. No way. It's not happening. It's not their lifetime to do that. They have other orders, okay? But there are 7,000 humans here who won't kneel to Baal. Baal is in the Bible. There are only seven. Mayor Baba has the same number, 7,000. And so Mayor Baba is the Father, Jesus Christ the Son, and Gabriel the angel is the Holy Spirit. I've met with all three of them. At one time, the first time I touched Mayor Baba's tomb in January of 2017. Before then, I didn't know they were actually real. I mean, honestly, yes, there's the information that they delivered was real, but them as unique, individual, infinite beings, I did not know were real until I experienced their reality. And they're not here in this world. I had to lose consciousness when I touched that tomb, and then I immediately met with them. So it was just, they exist. They are real. There's nothing more real than meeting with them. This world is fake. This is, we're in a mirror world where all this stuff is being done in the ether. Think of it like Disney World, Disney's happening, but there are all these, people and machinations and uh, all these different. How do I make a larger? I'm sorry, I'm saying so many times. I apologize. Um, all the, that's what I'm looking for, processes, all the processes that have to happen, all the rides, we gotta get the food here, we gotta, just think about running Disney World and everything that goes into that. You see what I'm saying? And no one's supposed to see that Disney's running it, right? It's just supposed to happen. And that's what our world does. You don't see them. It happens, but they're running everything here. You see, you can see from what's here that that's what's happening, right? It doesn't, it doesn't happen another way. It's not possible. Everything is a miracle here. How could the sand not mix with the water? Well, how is that possible? How is that possible next to the ocean? Just everything here is a miracle. How could that sand and the ocean be right next to each other everywhere in the world and they don't mix? How is that possible? Is that just even that? You see what I'm saying? We're inside a terrarium, a bubble, okay? How come the air isn't going constantly bad? They're like climate change. The air miraculously purifies in here. That's how, by God. How does the ocean water purify? You see what I'm saying? It's absolutely purified. How? By God. Not by plankton or whatever. You know what I mean? Like those things exist, but it's just too miraculous. How do tides happen? Twice a day, right? The water goes back out, it gets cleaned, and it comes back in clean. It's like, wait a minute. How is that possible? Miracle. How is inside the dome the air is perfect to breathe? Totally. How is that possible? That there's fresh air to breathe in here all the time. It's always clear, it's always clean, except for local conditions where you're burning somewhere or something like that. But it's always, how is that possible? You can't make that happen inside a closed environment without, you know, having all these things outside that environment. You can't do it. It's impossible. It's miraculous. You see? Everything around you is absolutely a miracle, and you're not witnessing, you're not physically seeing how it's all happening. You're seeing the results of it happening. The results speak for themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? Everything. The dome spins around a center point, the stars all go into circles. I mean, how are we spinning perfectly inside an ocean? Nothing ever, inside a time loop where obviously God is running this. Can you not see how obvious it is? You know, everything around you proves this. Okay. Anyway, the ether is the mirror world. It's the hidden world. It's the world that is going on, the non-physical realm that supports the physical realm. That's ether. Okay. All right. A little bit about ether. Uh, Once again, I've had the church has had two good supporters so far, Roxy and Jay. Shout out to you. You ever need anything, I'm there, homies. Because you were there for me in the church, and I'm trying to get this information out for people, and your support makes that possible. So, thank you very much. Okay, God bless you both in the name of Jesus Christ.